On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
A very, very good evening, Sunday the 11th of February 2024. My apologies for being slightly late. Software update on my computer. 9 years old now is my trusted Mac. Goes back to 2015 when I first got it. Spec'd it up to as much as I could, and it's served me well. But every now and then I need to do a software update, and it's taking longer and longer. So my apologies for the slight delay. I hope you're all well, and you're looking forward to, I think it's Pancake Tuesday coming up. Shrove Tuesday, isn't it, coming up? I was having a conversation with my daughter about Shrove Tuesday and how I'm very much looking forward to my pancakes with her. So good evening to all of you. I have a packed transmission I want to get through this evening. We're going to go around the houses. There's bits on Rochdale, but the relevance to Rochdale in Oldham you will see as I draw it out. First of all, following the transmission last Sunday evening, and I'll not share the name. I'll be kind, I'll not share the name. One of the big team, affiliates of the big team, contacted me. I don't think it was them. I think it was someone else linked to them who emailed me. It wasn't in the style of writing. And from Failsworth, and they were very, very unhappy with what I had shared. And of course they wanted to take offence to the way I'd delivered my message rather than the contents of the message, because it's easier to scapegoat that way and easier to avoid what the real issue is that way. And what I shared last week was the importance of those in Failsworth, the Failsworth Independent Party, and of course the big team side, of banging their heads together and coming to a resolution. Because if they didn't bang their heads together and come to a resolution, my feelings were that Labour would win in both wards, and Labour would come through the middle in Failsworth East. Lucia Ray is standing against a candidate, Ms. Charnock, I think she's standing against, and they would take votes of each other. They wouldn't definitely take votes of Labour, they'd take votes of each other. And of course in the West, the Failsworth Independent Party candidate, whoever that is, I presume it'd be Jane Casanelli again, would take votes of Mark Wilkinson. They'd take votes of each other, and the Labour candidate would come through the middle. And for those of you who want to know, my information is in Failsworth West, the Labour candidate will not be Paul Fryer. He's standing down. My information is that the Labour candidate will be Kyle Piffian. So Kyle Piffian is, of course, a Jim McMahon loyalist, a significant Labour Party player, and the Labour Party will mobilise, and the Labour Party will campaign. And they'll campaign to take both Failsworth seats. Now, if you don't like the way I've delivered my message, I couldn't care less. Grow up. Grow up and grow a spine. You've entered politics. Grow up, grow a spine, and if you're genuinely putting Failsworth forward, speak to each other. And contacting me and saying you'll cancel your subscription, like I give a, like I care that you'll cancel your £1, £5, £10, whatever it is you pay a month. The Labour Party, there are plenty of people who during the 5 years have tried to pay me off in one way or another. And I'm not for being bribed. And I'm nobody's puppet. I tell the truth as I see it. Take me or leave me as you find me. And when it suited you, you've took me. But now you can't handle a little bit of criticism. So cancel your direct debits and you and all of your followers leave. I couldn't care less. Because come May, and if you don't sort your act out and speak to each other, then the only outcome will be Failsworth loses. And don't get high and mighty with me. Don't you dare get high and mighty with me, because you won't like what I do. And I'll show you what I do. And by now, people should realise. People should realise. This is 2019. 2019 in Failsworth East was the first time an independent got elected. In the East, Brian Hoban stood, and you can see 1347, and got rid of an existing councillor, Paul Jacks, whose wife was subsequently got rid of later on in the West. Anthony Cahill stood for the Conservatives and the Lib Dems. So Brian Hoban came out of nowhere with 1347. And that's exactly the point, isn't it? They love me when it suits them, when I'm promoting them. Like I care. You're going to get rid of a £10 or a £5 or whatever it is, direct, subscription. 1347 Brian Hoban got in the East. First time an independent came through. In the West, my friend Warren Bates stood as an independent. He got 711 votes. Now, for some stupid reason, UKIP put up a candidate and got 325 votes. Waste of a vote. If any of you want to vote UKIP or Brexit or what's it called, reform coming up, run along. You're not with me. If you want to vote for reform coming along in the general election, you'll be taking votes off me. You'll be taking votes off whoever the alternative candidate is in Saddleworth East, Oldham East and Saddleworth, that we can get rid of the Labour Party MP Debbie Abrahams. A vote for reform in Oldham is a wasted vote. They'll come on their bandwagon and they'll leave immediately afterwards, having done nothing but split the vote. The Brexit Party did it last time in Oldham East, and that's why Debbie Abrams got over the line. So here we go. In Failsworth West, my friend Warren Bates stood with 711 votes, and Elaine Gary, that's that inept mayor, you'll all remember, that inept mayor, got in with 855. So there's what, 140 votes? 145 votes. My friend Warren Bates was very close. Why did he get 711 votes? You people in Failsworth who want to take the mick out of me or sign up to big team politics will get ready to pay big team politics. This is a document that is the statement of persons nominated. So at the time, you needed 10 people to nominate you, propose you and second you to become a council candidate. You can see Warren Bates had his 10. Have a look at this. Richard Darlington. Richard Darlington was the Liberal Democrat candidate. Instead of supporting the independents, big team Wilkinson, Mark and Kathleen, along with Brian Hoban, went and supported the Liberal Democrats. Not only did they support them quietly, they publicly supported them by proposing the Liberal Democrat candidate and seconding the Liberal Democrat candidate. And they did this to scupper Warren Bates' chance as an independent candidate to become councillor. Instead of supporting the independent, they went behind the independent's back, supported the Lib Dem candidate, propped up the Lib Dem candidate, and Elaine Gary got elected. This is an official document from 2019. So no, You haven't been putting Failsworth first. You've been putting yourselves first, and you've been playing games. Well, the time for games is over. Own it. Don't get angry at me. Own it. We've all made mistakes in this journey, and we all will make more mistakes on this journey. But I'm telling you now in Failsworth, if you fight each other, if the Wilkinsons decide they want to fight Brian Hoban, the only consequence will be that Mark Wilkinson will lose in Failsworth West, and Lucia Ray from the Failsworth Independents will lose in Failsworth East. And both those seats will go to the Labour Party. I've sat in rooms with politicians and people who've entered politics who've killed each other, who tried to kill each other. And they've put aside their differences for the greater good of the people that they claim they represented. And yes, I believe this is about egos in Failsworth. And if my belief is wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Where are your policy differences? What is the policy difference between Mark Wilkinson and his team in Failsworth West and the policy difference with the Failsworth Independent Party? What happened in Failsworth? What happened in Failsworth in this fallout is that one group tried to vote out the other group. And instead of doing what they should have done, and if they'd come to me early enough, I would have told them, instead of doing what they should have done, they tried to sabotage each other. And Hoban and his team came out on top. And even then I tried to mediate, and they couldn't work it out between them, and one backstabbed the other. You need to draw the line. Every conflict goes back to he started it, she started it, no, he started it. It's not working for you, it's not working for any of you, and it's definitely not working for Failsworth. You will kill each other politically. You'll destroy each other. And you've all been at this for a long time because you scuppered Warren Bates. Why else would an independent candidate stand in the East and then be a proposer or a seconder of a Liberal Democrat candidate in the West? Here is the document. You can see their names. Playing games. Playing games with people's lives. Playing games with the communities that you allegedly represent. Well, it's time you represented them. And I'll come back in May. If you lot carry on, I'll come back in May. And I've reached out to everyone on here, and I'll tell you now. Do you know who's come back to me? Wanting to speak to me, wanting to find a way through it, has held their hands up and said they've made mistakes. And this is after me mocking them in Worst Councillor of the Year awards. It's the Failsworth Independent Party who've come back to me. It isn't the big team. So that's what will happen in Failsworth. These people, if it continues the way it is, will sabotage each other and let Labour in. And maybe that's what they want. Maybe that's what they secretly want. If they can't be in charge, maybe they're happy for Labour to be in charge, because that's what took place here. They needed to remove Warren Bates, so they stabbed him in the back. And there's no ambiguity. Proposer and seconder, you can see the first names. The first names under the Lib Dem candidate. Kathleen Wilkinson, Mark Wilkinson. And during those days, The Hoban family and the Wilkinson family work together, so you can see 3 Hoban names there. And as for, well, I might as well finish this off. Give me 1 second. If someone's watching, someone send Beryl Smith the link, please. He just posted on, Beryl, what do you want me to do when I've started? The link was emailed to everyone. The link is on the web page. And I even message, if you can't find a link, get in touch. But getting in touch with me at 9:30, I'm struggling. Someone send Beryl the link, please. Just bear with me. My apologies, please. It's just me. I have no team. I have no big team. I have no small team. I try and do all of this myself. So please, my apologies if you've not got the links or if I'm not responding to you straight away. I'm going as fast as I can. So, the candidate for big team in Failsworth East is a lady called something Charnock. She does bees. Please, someone remind me of her first name. I'd like her first name if possible. I was trying to find it. Someone. I can't find it. Okay. Would Miss Charnock like to share with everyone how she applied to be a Failsworth Independent Party candidate? Remember, Charnock is the running partner of Mark Wilkinson. Catherine Charnock, thank you. Catherine Charnock is the running partner. So I've gone and done my research. Like I do, I've gone and done my research. So I found this and deep dived into the shenanigans that have gone on. Because no one has got clean hands in Failsworth. So no one can have the moral high ground. They've all done wrong to each other. And it's time to draw the line. So Catherine Charnock, and tell me if I'm wrong, Catherine. Catherine Charnock put her name forward to be a candidate for the Failsworth Independent Party. I think in Failsworth East to be a candidate. At the time Neil Hindle was running or ran. Were you aware, Catherine? And at the time, Kath Wilkinson was chair of the Failsworth Independent Party. Were you aware that the selection process was so rigged that you weren't even allowed a fair hearing? And the very people who made those decisions are the very people who are now promoting you to go on a suicide mission in Failsworth East so they can play out their own personal, petty, ego-driven conflict with each other. You're not going to win, Catherine. All you're going to do is make sure Lucia loses and Labour gets in. Were you aware you're nothing but, what's the phrase? Cannon fodder. A pawn in someone else's game. And that previously when you'd stood, they wanted nothing to do with you. And they'd blocked you. Both sides have done wrong. And if both sides continue as they are, they will do Failsworth wrong. And if Failsworth falls, we fall. I'll be very clear. If Failsworth falls, we fall. Now I get the pettiness and the big talk. I don't mind that. I can deal with that. But this is now serious. And I didn't want to do this. But don't send me emails with laughing emojis. And telling me how you're going to cancel your subscriptions. Because you don't like the way in which I've delivered the message. I'm very clear on my position and have been from the outset. And if I tell you off, it's because I expect better from you. And I provide you with the opportunity to do better. So if Catherine Charnock wants to come on here and talk to me, I'll put her on here and I'll give her airtime. If Mark Wilkinson wants to come on here and speak with me, I'll give Mark Wilkinson airtime and he can have that conversation with me. If I can mediate on here in front of everyone else, so any agreements made are made publicly, I will facilitate that publicly on here. And I look forward to providing airtime to the Failsworth Independent Party in the coming weeks and months, because they've approached me, and it's not because I picked a side, it's because I'm on everyone's side. I want better for all of us. And if you can't deal with that, and the way I speak, and how forthright I am, well then run along. Done. And once again, apologies for being late. I needed to do that the way I needed to do that, so let me draw some breath. As hopefully someone sent Beryl the link, if it's okay with you all. And just give me 1 second. I will send Beryl the link if I can just copy it. So messaging Beryl the link. No, on this I'm not going to apologise at all, Faye. On this I'm not going to apologise at all. They've been backstabbing each other long before I came along. And this list or proposers and seconders demonstrated. Why would you backstab Warren Bates? And now, with Warren not on the scene, they're fighting amongst themselves like children. Well, if you're going to behave like children, I'm going to behave like the parent in the room and scold you. And you can sulk as much as you want. Moving on. I never went in this bar, but I think someone came up with an idea to do this to it, and it didn't go well. So this is Murphy's Bar in Royton. It's on the main road in Royton, on the right-hand side as I'm travelling from Oldham, going down. And it's had an application for a HMO. Now, in the lead-up to this, the lead-up matters. In the lead-up to the application, and I'll get into the details of all of that shortly. One of the last pieces of work I did with the big team was I supported Mark Hince, who, by the way, isn't well, I'm hearing. So my thoughts and well wishes to Mark and his family. Irrespective of everything, we are all adults, human, and we are decent. We are decent people. So my well wishes to Mark and hope for a speedy recovery. What we've got, one of the last pieces of work I did with him was put forward what's known as an Article 4 directive as a motion, which is essentially to restrict all HMOs under so many bedrooms. And the ones bigger than this, such as this, would still have to go to planning permission. But an Article 4 directive would send out a message that HMOs are not welcome in our communities. I drafted a motion. He played about with it, messed about with it, made it worse. We parted company, but before that we'd got it to a situation where we'd even convinced the Liberal Democrat leader Howard Sykes to back it, and we'd got Lewis Quigg, Dave Arnott and the others to also support it. We parted company before that council meeting, and what big team, Hince, Hurley, Sandra Ball, did with their advisors, and their advisors, from what I can work out, are the poker player John Hughes and Nick Summerscales. What they did was they voted against their own motion. They voted against their own motion. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it in my life. The big team voted against their own motion and supported the Labour Party motion, which was basically to kick it into touch, who claimed that an Article 4 motion, an Article 4 directive was complicated. It wasn't as easy. That's what they always say. It is straightforward, by the way. And that the council officers were going to have to go and have a look at it. Thank you, sir. Sorry, this is a live transmission, so people's comments come up, and I think it's when people take the time to say something of value, I try to share that, so we go back, I think, exactly the same. Catherine Charnock is being manipulated and being used and being thrown to the lions, and it's not fair on her. I've never met the woman. I have nothing against her. So big team, of which Sandra Ball, Councillor Sandra Ball, is a member. Remember, she put out a statement attacking me. I've never had a bad word to say about Sandra at the time. And apparently she did it in solidarity with her friend. So when I'm being kicked, she'll happily come along and kick me as well and join in the beating. So these Muppets voted against their own motion. And the council kicked it into touch. And what they should have done immediately afterwards, John Hughes and Nick Summerscales, expert advisors that they are, What they should have done immediately after the meeting was write to the leader of the council, copying the chief executive and say, following the motion, I now remember they'd voted against the motion, their own motion, we would like to know who the council officer who is going to undertake this review to check the feasibility of an Article 4 directive and a timescale of when we can have a response by. Big team do that, did they bugger? And the relevance of this is Royton. They've destroyed Oldham. Oldham Town Centre, go into it. They've destroyed it. I like Royton. I've got friends and family in Royton. I like how it's thriving in areas despite the best efforts of the council by raising business rates and trying to, squeeze as much out of those people as possible. I like Royton. Always like Royton. These are the plans. Lots of bedrooms on the council webpage. There you go. Royton Independence put this out. I think it's important that I read it. Community matters, blah, blah, blah. Is Royton set to record the highest number of comments, objections ever received for a HMO application in Oldham? A planning application has been submitted for a 10-bedroom HMO by the new owners of Murphy's Bar on 180 Rochdale Road, OL2 6PS. HMO is a house of multiple occupancy. A large HMO like this is usually one property with a minimum of 5 persons in their own rooms who are unknown to each other and unrelated to each other. The Royton Independents do not agree with the use of HMOs because the evidence indicates they have a detrimental effect on local communities. If you feel strongly about HMOs and their effects on local communities, you can put your comments, objections to the council planning in this link before. You bunch of muppets. Hurley and her muppets. You are the elected councillor. You are setting up these people to fail. You absolute buffoon. Who wrote this? Hurley didn't write this. It'd be one of her experts. It'd be one of her big team. John Hughes and Nick Summerskills. It'd be one of those. First of all, if there is evidence that indicates that they have a detrimental effect on local communities, what is the evidence that demonstrates this so that people can object using the right reasons? You're setting people up to fail. It's shameless. If I was involved in this, what I would have done is set out the reasons why HMOs have a detrimental effect, and I'd have gone further. I'd have done a review of the Oldham Council's planning applications and seen where HMOs have been rejected and see which one of those reasons could be transferred across to here. So for instance, do any of you think, this is 9 bedrooms by the way, 10 bedrooms, do any of you think parking will be a reason to deny a HMO in a pub with a car park that would have had more than 10 people visit with cars? Does anyone believe noise will be a reason to refuse a HMO in a venue that used to be a pub? Lazy at best, inept at worst. This isn't leadership. This is setting people up to fail and saying, oh, we tried our best. It gets worse. They don't come out with who the HMO application is, even though it's well known in the community. They know it's the owner of Mazo. The owner of Mazo puts out this statement. Dear residents and groups of Royston, and I have no issue with the owner of Mazo. I don't know him. It had live bands. I've never eaten in Mazo. I can't afford to eat in Mazo. I know the council hosts events in Mazo. I understand he's done good things in Royton as a businessman, and he's made lots of money and he's continuing to make lots of money. I have no issue with any of that. He's put this statement out. I want to draw attention to a number of elements in this statement. First of all, our family has been part of Royton for the past 10 years, and during this time we've worked hard to contribute positively to the community. I can't doubt that. Our businesses have not only brought economic benefits, but also have played a role in the growth of the local community. The current project involves seeking permission to turn Murphy's Bar into a house of multiple occupancy, HMO, excuse me. I want to emphasise that the decision is driven by a desire to provide accommodation for our hard-working staff members. The primary goal is to reduce travel costs and time for our employees, some of whom currently commute from Manchester. Well, the first contradiction there is you're in Royton. Waiting staff? Come on. Waiting staff should be local. Teenagers, early 20s, no. And commuting in from Manchester? You believe they need to be living? There's a bus stop outside. You think they need to be living opposite? No. I'm not buying it. But the way this is packaged together, in a different world, there's an Oldham, it's for our staff to live in. So our staff will live in a HMO, we'll charge them rent. These staff aren't from Oldham. They're commuting in from Manchester. In a different world, and I don't say this in the context of this, just my experience of things like this in a different life, I would be starting to be concerned about what you or we now know as modern day slavery. Someone is living there, it means that they're working there, I can charge them the rent, I own them. They can't leave so easily, I've tied them down, I've wrapped them up. I'd call it modern day slavery. I'd be concerned. Unless he was putting them up for free, which I doubt. That's the first thing I'd be concerned about. And I don't know this man. He might be completely genuine. But reading this, that's what my first concern would be. My second concern is his claim that the primary goal is to reduce travel costs and time for our employees, some of whom currently commute from Manchester. How many currently commute from Manchester? The absence of a tram line makes their commute challenging, often taking more than an hour. I'm sorry. I don't consider an hour travel time to work to be a reason why. It doesn't stack up for me. Rather, we aim to enhance the working conditions of our staff and making it more convenient and cost effective for them. The HMO is intended solely for staff use. Now, it doesn't stack up, Tony. It doesn't stack up. But he's open to dialogue, get in touch with him, blah, blah, blah. Along comes Darren Ratcliffe. Now, I've only met Darren once. I have no issue with Darren Ratcliffe whatsoever, even though he claimed I was a racist. He doesn't know that. I know that, but he did. Darren Ratcliffe joined in with Arood Shah when we were getting rid of her in Chadderton South on social media to support her, saying that the leaflets I put out were racist. Here you go. Along comes Darren Ratcliffe with his first suggestion. Simply boycott Mazo and Vicinio. Is that the other one? If you aren't happy with it. When they post on their business pages, ask them not to open a HMO like this in our town. I've already contacted Reuters Independence about it to see if there can be a coordinated objection to it. Well, the coordinated objection to, and he stood as a candidate, remember, for the Reuters Independence, is this stupid post that provides nothing other than the link to the planning to say go and object, without supporting people on what and how to object. Big team! Big team. Absolute jokers. Absolute jokers. Darren then comes back with this today. I went to see the owners of Mazo restaurants earlier and I thought, and apparently this post has now been deleted. He's deleted this post now. But I've got a screen grab of it. I went to see the owners, and I'll read it. I think it's important, I'll read it. I went to see the owners of Mazo restaurants earlier and I thought it was worth sharing, so you, like me, can make your own mind up on what they've said. I don't know in what capacity he went to see him, whether it was as part of the Reuters Independence or just as a Reuters businessman. My apologies, there's no parking. Although I've parked near there. But it's a pub, isn't it? It's a pub. And you'd be expected to come with a car to a pub. And a pub of that size would have more than 10 guests, wouldn't it? They have had a lot of messages about the development from people, and I've always said if people are worried, go and talk to them. The plans are now cut back from 10 rooms to 8, with each having its own kitchenette and bathroom and shower facility. They realised there was a need for their own staff who found it difficult to organise house shares, for example. No, that's not the reason he said. If somebody moved out, leaving one person with the bills. The Mazo explanation, as I've shared to you, was exclusively about the commute. The primary goal is to reduce travel costs. Now, it seems it's something else. The accommodation is for their staff and professionals if there is room, e.g. student doctors and nurses, and professionals if there is room. The HMO, and I'll quote him, the owner, is intended solely for staff use. You can see it there, intended solely for staff use. I've not altered this, see it, in his own statement. Now Darren's liaised with him. The accommodation is for the staff and professionals, if there is room. There have been concerns over the nationality of the tenants. Some of the staff are local residents, being hospitality. Weekend workers do tend to be from overseas. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Now, there have been concerns over the nationality of the tenants. Well, I've got no room for racists. If it's an Italian restaurant, the best Italian restaurants I've been in, I'm afraid the chefs have tended to be Italian. The best Indian restaurants I've been in, the chefs have tended to be Indian. The best Chinese restaurants I've been in, the chefs have tended to be Chinese. No. So they're legitimising what's going on in terms of there have been worries over the nationality. Now, if the Royton Independents had done their jobs properly, they would have said our objections, if we're coordinating responses, which is what he wanted, a coordinated objection. A coordinated objection would be, we don't want any ethnics here, we don't want any refugees here, we don't want any asylum seekers here, we don't want this type of people here, because that takes you down the path of racism. But here is Mazo admitting that weekend workers do tend to be from overseas now. I worked in a restaurant last night. A friend of mine's away. Phoned me up and said, Raja, can you come and help? It's a family business. I went and helped. The weekend staff tend to be teenagers, students from the local area. I've been in and around the catering trade for 30 years. The weekend staff, you don't fly in weekend staff from overseas. The weekend staff tend to be kids from the local area. So far, bullshit after bullshit after bullshit. One of the owners lives close to the site of the proposed HMO, and they are aware there is an old person's home nearby, and they will be respectful. What? And they're going to monitor it 24/7 now. They could have let downstairs out again as a nightclub type setup, but they want a quiet property. And tenants will not be allowed to have a party house of any sort. Do you know student nurses? Student doctors? The building will have an extensive renovation, including insulation and modern black UPVC windows fitted throughout and CCTV. Means nothing. They are proud of what they have done with Mazo and Vincinio, with assets to the town, and would not do something that would detract from the town. I'm not the one who's objecting here. If they would not do something that would detract from the town, that site lends itself to a number of flats, doesn't it? A number of self-contained flats that could be let out. Pretty much that's it. Going forward, 3 points. I asked them if they would put a covenant in place to state they would only have professionals and their own staff living there, and they are happy to do so. I'll get back to that point in a moment. I'm invited to go and see the development when it is complete and share some photos if it helps. Why are you invited? Why is Darren Radcliffe doing this? Why are the Royton Independents not taking the lead on this? Why is Councillor Maggie Hurley, who earns £10,000 plus, not taking the lead on this? So there you have it. I tried to share the information impartially so you can make your own mind up. And I've got no issue per se with this, but I have one particular issue. What I'll say is I'm the only one who has gone and had a chat with him. Well, why hasn't Maggie Hurley gone and had a chat with him? If you're worried, go and speak to them. Go and speak to them for what? Okay, 2 things. I've checked the planning portal today. There has been no amendment to that application, so having a covenant put in place that would only have professionals and their own staff living there has not took place. And here are some of the comments. Mark Lund, I have no issue with Mark. I think I'd deal with him here as a supporter. You've been a breath of fresh air. Hope you get elected to the council. Don't know what the... And Graham Rowe, well played for taking the time to go and talk. Constructive leave to Mazo. Seems like a good conversation which answered lots of questions. I don't think it answered lots of questions, and proves dialogue is always good. Well, first of all, what the dialogue has shown is Mazo has changed its position on a number of things, or revised its position. Would I trust them? No. But this is where ignorance plays its part. I asked them if they would put a covenant in place to state they would only have professionals and their own staff living there. Putting such a covenant in place Putting such a covenant in place would very likely be in breach of the Equalities Act. It would be unlawful. I am old enough to remember that there were certain pubs and bars and certain parts of the town I could not go to because of what I looked like. And certain places that would tolerate me and certain places that was alright with. Putting a covenant in place that restricts what type of people can rent a room in a HMO is unlawful. Big team need to realise that the days of no dogs, blacks or Irish are long gone. And it doesn't matter who believes in a whole host of racist attitudes, and I'm sure there are people, but those days are gone. You cannot discriminate on who rents a room. And asking for a covenant but these are the people who voted against their own motion. But I'll tell you what is lawful. What is lawful is something called precedence. There's a HMO further up the road from here, 100 yards up the road, in the row of terraced houses. It's a double-fronted sort of big window, old building, opposite the old folks home. The care home, sorry. Thank you, Nikki. Is that what they want? Is that the position of the Royton Independents? What is lawful is something called precedence. There's a care home 100 yards or so up. There's a HMO already been approved 100 yards further up. And this, if it gets approved, which it looks like it will because the opposition was not coordinated, and now it seems the Royton Independents and their big team have shifted from the position of being against the HMO, now being okay with the HMO, as long as there's a covenant put on it against the Equality Act. Potentially against the Equality Act. And I'm not blaming Darren. He probably went in there trying to do a decent thing. I'm not blaming him at all. If I send one of my team in to do something and he messes up, I don't hold him responsible, I hold myself responsible. And Maggie Hurley's been paid over £10,000 a year. Precedence of another HMO a few hundred yards away. It's Rochdale Road. I know the road well. I've seen the terraced houses. I've seen some people have bought those terraced houses and have tried their best. If I was a property developer, I'd be buying up those terraced houses one at a time, knocking them through and making the entire street into a big HMO. And you've got the precedence. You've not objected here. You've supported it here. You've supported it further along. You were quiet. The council then can't say, we're refusing this on a certain grounds that we didn't refuse the 150 yards down the road. They won't win on that. And if you knew anything about planning, you'd know about that. The house extension for the HMO, or would potentially be HMO in Failsworth, they couldn't reject because he wasn't asking to open a HMO. He was asking for an extension. He was applied for an extension that was almost identical to extensions that had taken place in houses all around where that house is. The council couldn't reject that. I'm not your Royton councillor. But once again, the people of Royton have been failed here. And it is Royton South, for those of you who've asked me. And I had no issue with this lad. I met him once, he was amicable enough. I let go that he'd supported Arud Shah in calling me a racist. And I think he's gone to try and do the right thing, but he shouldn't have been sent out to do this, and he shouldn't have asked for a covenant, because if he knew better, he wouldn't do. And if he knew better, in this very post, he would have highlighted the discrepancies in what Mazo are now saying to what they were saying before. Because if there's already discrepancies at this stage, what's going to happen afterwards? I'm asking you, what's going to happen afterwards? Big team. Okay, I'm going to get on to Rochdale in a moment. I need a drink. I need to go and get some chocolate. If you're finding value, please encourage other people to sign up, because we've stalled, and I can do this, and you and me, we can do this all year up to the general election. But it's not going to fix our town. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, let me answer a few questions before we carry on. Tommy has got this issue with the pub having no parking, and next 5 terraced houses, there are 2 HMOs, none with any parking. And that's why, Tommy, Lewis Quigg a Conservative Lewis Quigg, amended the big team's motion for an Article 4 directive of stopping all HMOs. Big team, Hinz, Hurley and Ball did not support the Conservative amendment. Or if they did, they went and voted against their own motion. What needs to happen is we need to stop the HMOs. Now, you've got a contradiction now with Darren Radcliffe speaking on behalf of, I don't know if he's speaking on behalf of himself or he's speaking on behalf of the coordinated response from the Royton Independents. The Royton Independents have put some nonsense out. You got no chance, mate. This is what happens when we elect the likes of Maggie Hurley and Mark Ince and Sandra Ball. They have no understanding of due process, of the levers that they have. So I feel for you people in Royton and on that strip. And as another HMO is approved and another is approved, your reasons for objections won't stack up against planning law. And I agree with you. I mean, we've already demonstrated a number of contradictions, haven't we? And in my past life, alarm bells are already ringing around modern day slavery and stuff. Intentional, accidental, I don't know. I agree, Tony. There's a lot of apathy out there and we're struggling with our numbers. We're running out of time if we're going to campaign in the local elections. And if we're not going to campaign in the local elections, and with the shenanigans going on in Failsworth, I'm sorry to tell you, I think we're going to lose in May. And Shah will strengthen her hold on Oldham. And thank you, Jack, for bringing this up. I've stopped using Facebook. It's got nothing to do with the shadow bans and censors. I've put links up for people. I've put the direct links up for people in the Rabble chat and in the Telegram page, asking people to share. And we've just not had the share, so I've just given up. I'll leave it to others to use those platforms. My focus will be I'll do what I do on Telegram and keep those who follow the Telegram page and encourage people. And I'll post on Red Wall and the Rebel, so any updates I have I'll post on there and it'll just be emailed out to people who subscribe. Again, the subscription on Red Wall and the Rebel is free, so all of my written content is accessed for free. You're just going to subscribe to it and you'll ping with an email once I put something new up. I think you and I can see it's they'll milk it for what they can until they destroy it, the same as they did with Oldham. Oldham was thriving in the late 90s and the 2000s, and I remember one thing after another. They put a Sainsbury's in the middle when it should have been something else that brought people in for an offer. And they sent the traffic wardens out. I remember getting a parking ticket because I had an office on Union Street at the time. I remember getting a parking ticket in the time I parked my car. Maybe Neil Wilby needs to go and look at this. I parked my car. It was a lovely TVR. It would break down all the time, but it looked nice. I parked my car, went to the parking meter and came back with a ticket. Parking meter was like 10 yards away. and a parking attendant had already written me out a ticket. It drove people away. It drove people away. They destroyed the town. They milked it and they destroyed the town. They'll do the same. They'll do the same in Royton. They've destroyed Shaw. If you go back far enough, you'll see that they destroyed Shaw. They'll milk it for what they can. So I feel sorry for Royton. And I'm afraid my ability to do any campaigning, direct campaigning, I've took the decision myself, we need more numbers. My subscription rates are what, 75 pence a week. And sharing the content, the written content on Facebook doesn't cost anyone anything. It doesn't cost anyone anything. And it's nothing to do with being shadow banned. I'd put the links, and those of you who follow me would see that I'd put the links up all the time on Facebook, on the Telegram page, asking people to share. So no, I'm done there. And TikTok's not for me. Okay, moving on to Rochdale. Now, I'm going to play something first, which is a video that this guy put out, Azhar Ali, the candidate for Rochdale. He didn't share it on his Facebook page. He didn't share it on his Twitter page. Sorry, he didn't share it on his Twitter page. And I think he didn't share it on his Twitter page because he did something that Debbie Abrams did. Which was try and send one message to one part of the community and hide that message from another part of the community. It's divisive and it's dangerous. So, hear this.
I wanted a ceasefire, immediate ceasefire. I wanted humanitarian aid to go into Gaza straight away. Whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim, or have no faith at all, when you see mothers crying, when you see lines of dead bodies in shrouds, it's heartbreaking because you could see your own children maybe there. But my faith is very clear. The Quran says that...
Sorry, I want to just bring it back to the beginning.
I've made my position very clear from day one that I wanted a ceasefire, immediate ceasefire. I wanted humanitarian aid to go into Gaza straight away. Whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim, or have no faith at all, when you see mothers crying, when you see lines of dead bodies in shrouds, it's heartbreaking because you could see your own children maybe there. But my faith is very clear. The Quran says that saving one life is like saving the whole of mankind. And that's the basis of my faith, and that's what I believe in, and my record proves that. From university days, I was chair of Students for Palestine at university. So I've not been campaigning on Palestine just now. I've been campaigning on Palestine, Kashmir. It's not something that's new to me. It's something that I've been doing for a long, long time because I feel that, you know, standing up for the oppressed, standing up for humanity is an integral part of who I am. It's part of my conscience. And the community always talks about we need more representation and better representation at the highest levels, more councillors, more members of parliament, more members in the House of Lords, etc. So now's the test for the Muslims in Rochdale. Do they want an MP who understands the wider issues or around NHS and jobs and all the rest, and also is from the community and is a Muslim? Or do they want someone from London who turns up in Bradford, Batley and Spen, Gorton with his circus and then will leave after 3 weeks? I'm here to stay. I want this community to be united rather than divided.
Okay. So that's Azhar Ali, and he put that out, and it was been shared. I got it on a WhatsApp chat, and it was shared with Muslims. And I can't see it having been shared with a wider community. It definitely wasn't on his Twitter page when I last checked his Twitter page. And he's appealing to the Muslim community to vote for him because he's a Muslim. And he'll represent Muslims. That's the essence of what I took from that. I find, and then he finishes off by saying, I want this community to be united rather than divided, which I think is a complete contradiction to everything that he said beforehand. Why he didn't share that on his mainstream media page is of course the Labour Party position, Keir Starmer's position, is very different. And it's costing him votes. And everyday opportunist George Galloway has rocked up in Rochdale, and it's like the perfect storm for Azhar Ali, the Labour Party candidate. And he'd been very clear from the beginning. If he'd been very clear from the beginning, wouldn't be putting a video out, would he, Chris? This is Angela Rayner.
Angela Rayner, why have you supported genocide? I'm a team.
Sorry.
Angela Rayner, why have you supported genocide? I'm a Tameside resident and we don't support your policy. Come on, Angela. Why have you supported Palestine? Angela Rayner, you have supported genocide of the Palestinian people. Angela Rayner, shame on you. Shame on you, Angela Rayner. Shame on you. Angela Rayner, shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on your Labour people there. Shame on all of you. We will unseat you from Tameside. We do not want you in Tameside. We do not want you as our politician. We do not want you as our MP. Angela Rayner, shame on you. And shame on all of you, sister. Labour Party supporters, shame on you. Thank you. That'll do as well. You, come on.
So, the tactic of following politicians around with a loud hailer or banners is something that the left deployed in the lead up to Brexit, and also the campaign group led by donkeys, which have done very well for themselves. Some of what led by donkeys they do, I take inspiration from, if I'm honest with you. So has this lad. So you need to realise that this form of direct campaigning is neither unlawful nor illegal, but something that has been proven to be effective, and these people are using it. Whether you agree with what they're doing or not, this is lawful. And they chased Angela Rayner out of Rochdale. Angela Rayner had rocked up in Rochdale, and I've heard someone say she's brought her children with her. She'd brought her children with her and it shouldn't have happened. Well, I'm sorry. You shouldn't take your children out campaigning with you. If you go out campaigning, knocking on doors, asking for people to vote for a party that's very unpopular in the town, don't take your children with you. And you can see that the young man, and I don't know him, wasn't targeting anyone else, and actually he wasn't swearing at them or anything. He was being noisy, he was being obstructive, and he chased out Angela Rayner, the deputy leader of the Labour Party, who turned up at the weekend to campaign for Azhar Ali. Let me go backwards. This is Angela Rayner. Angela Rayner was the chosen one. Azhar Ali was the chosen candidate of Angela Rayner. Here you go. You can see a tweet there. Great to join Councillor Azhar Ali, our brilliant candidate for Rochdale, on the campaign trail today. In the lead up and I'll be as concise as I can with you. In the lead up to the selection process, Keir Starmer's candidate was that journalist from the I newspaper, Paul Waugh. Whatever. Paul, yeah? Angela Rayner's candidate was this guy from Burnley Council, who's from Pendle, originally from Pendle, Azhar Ali. What the Labour Party did was hoped they put in a third candidate from Bury, I think, a Pakistani girl, female candidate, hoping that the Muslim vote would be split and Paul Waugh would win through the middle. It's what they did in Oldham, East and Saddleworth previously when they got Debbie Abrams elected. It's a typical Labour Party technique. Divide the ethnic minority vote, play them off with each other and get the white person elected through the middle. It failed, and Azhar Ali won in the first round with the most votes, and he won because a whole host of other prominent Pakistani councillors, MPs supported him, mobilised with Angela Rayner to get him over the line, and he became the candidate. Now, why did Angela Rayner promote him? Why did Paul Waugh? Thank you. Sorry, Nick. Paul Waugh. Nick's from Rochdale. Thank you, mate. So why did Angela Rayner promote Councillor Azhar Ali? In particular, if Councillor Azhar Ali has been clear from the beginning his stance on Palestine ceasefire, blah, blah, blah. He was, the chair of the student group on Palestine or something? Not my words, his own words in that interview. Of that video clip him and his team have been desperately sending around to the Muslims. Vote for me, I'm a Muslim. Why did Angela Rayner support this candidate whose position is in opposition to the official Labour Party position? Why? Why did the deputy leader do this? And it didn't help him that this has come out today. Well, before being selected by Angela Rayner, or supported by Angela Rayner, Azhar Ali has come out having to apologise for this ridiculous statement he's made, that Israel deliberately allowed 1,400 of its citizens to be massacred on October the 7th in order to give it the green light to invade Gaza. Now, he's since apologised unreservedly. What should have happened is he should be suspended. He should have been suspended immediately. Suspended with immediate effect. Here is one of the Oldham councillors. Remember the Hollingwood Conservative councillors? All three of them were suspended. Cameron Ghaffar, Councillor Irfan and Councillor Wahid. I think this is Councillor Wahid. They seem to be with George Galloway, handing out leaflets for Galloway. I have no issue with Councillors Wahid or Councillors Irfan supporting George Galloway. I haven't. It's a free country. If they want to support them, they can do. They were suspended from the Conservative Party. They've now been expelled from the Conservative Party. Yes, you've heard that right. Councillors Wahid and Councillor Irfan have been expelled from the Conservative Party. We're still waiting to hear what happens with Councillor Cameron Ghaffar. But these two councillors have been expelled, and here they are with Galloway and his team. At least they're not hiding who they are. Here is Azhar Ali, Angela Rayner's chosen candidate, promoted candidate, who said all of this, and Keir Starmer hasn't suspended him, hasn't sacked him, hasn't expelled him, none of that. And simply accepted a slap on the wrist, don't say it again. Just apologise and don't do it again. I have Jewish friends. This outrageous to suggest this. Israel deliberately allowed 1,400 of its citizens to be massacred so that he could have the green light to invade Gaza. I've seen no evidence of that anywhere. And this man wants to be MP and he's sharing that view and opinion. How do you think that resonates in a community that, and I say this as a member of that community, where anti-Semitism is alive and flourishing? How can he say that? How can he put out a video in one place saying, vote for me, I'm a Muslim, and not share that video on his Twitter page where he's hiding his pro-Palestinian credentials? But this is the Labour Party. It's what Debbie Abrams did. One message in one place, another message somewhere else. He's not at all interested in Rochdale. Forget the wider population. He's not at all interested in Rochdale. He just wants to be MP. So how did he get that? Well, here, Angela Rayner promoted him. So why did Angela Rayner promote this man from Pendle, who's a councillor in where? Burnley? This is what I've been able to piece together, and this is where it gets sinister. There's this guy, Wajid Khan, Baron Khan of Burnley. Was a member of the European Parliament, blah, 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 former mayor of Burnley. Powerful heavyweight guy. Here's Oliver Ryan. The white lad from Tameside was part of our Rude Shard's team, remember? In trying to keep her in power. Tameside councillor. Angela Rayner's protege mysteriously lands the official Labour Party nomination in Burnley. This is what I think has gone on. A secret deal was done between the Pakistanis and Angela Rayner to get her boy selected in Burnley, and in return, this guy was promised to be helped by Rayner elsewhere. So they've imported him into Rochdale. This was a genuine opportunity for the Labour Party to select a candidate who would say, we need to resolve the injustices of the past in Rochdale. We need to address the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of this town's children, demand a public inquiry and deliver justice for the children of Rochdale. The Labour Party had the opportunity to do that, and instead they played identity politics as a consequence of secret handshakes involving Labour Party politicians elsewhere, where this white lad got himself the official nomination in Burnley, Angela Rayner's boy, and in return, a man from Pendle, self-declared he's from Pendle. Pendle proud, yeah? Gets the official nomination in Rochdale, where in Pendle, the Rochdale grooming gang trafficked children to. That's right, the Rochdale grooming gang trafficked children to Pendle. And what does Rochdale get? Rochdale gets what? An anti-Semite from Pendle? How can you bring in a Pakistani politician from Pendle to be your official candidate in Rochdale when the Rochdale grooming gang trafficked children to Pendle? It's not a good look, is it? And the candidate you bring in has got absolutely nothing to say about the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of that town's children. And now has been exposed for peddling conspiracy theories that only heightens and increases anti-Semitism amongst the community, where he's saying, vote for me because I'm a Muslim and I'll fight for Palestine. And I'm a Muslim and I support every innocent person in Palestine and Israel who has suffered. But my politics aren't like the politics of these people. And I'm very much looking forward to see what these guys do. I honestly am. But you've got to give it to the Conservatives. They kicked them out. I want to show you something. Let me bring it up. This is why Rochdale is important for Oldham. Because the games the Labour Party are playing, they'll play in Oldham. McMahon is an expert in playing ethnic communities against ethnic communities, and now he's desperately engaging with the white community. I've got one of his most recent newsletter where he's trying to pretend he's on their side. He's finally posting about the closures of pubs. That's right, McMahon is now posting about the closures of pubs and something needs to be done about them. As though he's on your side. As though he's ever cared. These are the candidates in Rochdale. Azhar Ali, Labour. Mark Coleman, Independent. Simon Danchuk, Reform. Simon Danchuk was the former Labour Party MP for the town. Got embroiled in all sorts of scandals. Inappropriate behaviour. His inappropriate behaviour, I think, was something to do with his wife or his girlfriend or something. I don't know. I remember at the time. Ian Donaldson, forget it, no chance. Paul Ellison, forget it, no chance. George Galloway, odds on, I think, at the moment. Michael Howarth, I think some people just want their names in. Yeah. Billy, this is Billy Howarth, Independent. Guy Otten, Green Party, already withdrawn, or kind of withdrawn. His name's still on there. Someone's found some tweets of him being offensive to some group or another. And of course, the raving monster loony party candidate. And David Anthony Tully, Independents. Now, forget the Independents. Apart from, let's just focus on Billy. And let's focus on Danchuk. And, of course, Azhar Ali. Here's the vote last time. Tony Lloyd got 25, just under 25,000. Atifa Shah, so this was the ethnic politics at play, rather than a genuine Conservative vote, got just under 15,000. Chris Keane, the Brexit Party, got 4,000. Andy Kelly and Lib Dems got 3,000. And Sarah Croak, from the Green Party got just under 1,000. So really it translates Atifa Shah to George Galloway. And it's a straight fight between those two. If Chris Green is your Danchuk sort of candidate for reform, you might get 3,000 or 4,000 votes. Inappropriate messages to a teenage girl. That's what he did, wasn't it? Yes. Interesting how they've whitewashed that bit out of that bio, isn't it, Tony? The 25,000 Tony Lloyd got, a substantial amount of that was the Muslim vote. And we'll see whether Asif Ali, who's a Muslim himself, can secure that vote or whether, sorry, Azhar Ali, or whether he loses that. The election is in 2.5 weeks' time. People have asked me who I support. I'm very clear. Of course I support whichever candidate is going to champion justice for the victims and the survivors of the grooming gangs. Why are you asking me the most ridiculous of questions when you know what my position is? I think the Azhar Ali Galloway face-off, because the winner will likely come from one of those two, is intriguing to watch, and there are lessons we can draw from it, because I'll be honest with you, and I'm always honest with you. For me to win in Oldham West, Chadderton and Royton, I need those who consider to vote reform not to waste a vote and support me. There'll be about 3,000 of them. I'll need those who'd vote independent to vote for me. I'd need those who'd vote Conservative normally to lend me their vote. And I'd also need the progressives from within the Muslim community to support me so we can remove McMahon and cleanse that poison from our town. Now, unlike Galloway, I don't have the entourage, the resources, any of that of Galloway. And I'm not a politician like Galloway. Whatever I think of him, he's been an effective politician. Whatever message I promote, it will be one of inclusivity and working together. I agree. I'm appalled by the deaths in Gaza. I'm also appalled by the cover-up of the gang rape of my town's children at home. And I'll need the help of those who feel a connection with both issues to vote for me. I'm not hiding it. I'm not going to give one message here and another message there. I'm not hiding that at all. So there's a lesson there for all of us in Oldham. Now, I've been asked why won't I support Billy more and go up and help and stuff. I don't know what he's doing. He sent me a message last week or the week before saying he was standing. I don't know what he's doing. I think it'll be very hard to win an election from a standing start. I wish him the best. It's a by-election, so it might be that he can get enough momentum now to then fight the general election. It might be that he can get enough momentum now to fight at the local elections with a team. I hold up my hands and I apologise. I haven't got the means, I haven't got the resources to fight in another town. I'll look at it and draw lessons from it so we can fight in ours, but I can't go and run a campaign or support a campaign somewhere else. And I honestly don't think, and I don't mean this disrespectfully at all, I honestly don't think Billy can win there right now, because it's a straight fight between the Labour Party self-destructing and playing ethnic, the old cartel-style politics, the village politics, the ethnic, the clan politics, against the whirlwind that is Galloway. So I'll sit back and watch it. I think the best thing I can say for Billy is stand, experience an election, work out what your support is, and then use that for May to put some candidates up for the local elections to get some councillors in. That would be my strategy. And then if you still got it in you and you still think, you think that you can do something, then go and stand again at the general election. And I agree with you, Tony. I think Billy is the most genuine man in the fray now. And I wish I could help him more. So that is what's going on in Rochdale. And to all of you who've contacted me on it, stay out of it. Watch it. Watch it. You don't need to wave Israeli flags. You don't need to wave Palestinian flags. Watch it. Watch it play out. I'm sorry, something's happened with my camera, I think, so I'm just going to go and fix my camera. I'll try and unplug and replug my camera in, and I'll carry on with the transmission. Just give me one moment, maybe get a drink, and I'll try and fix my camera. Excellent, Nick. And if you're speaking to him, please pass on my regards. I did message him back, Nick, by the way. I try and message everyone back who contacts me, so I did message him back. I didn't know Dan Chuck had been to Rwanda and married a young local lass decades younger than him. Is it wrong to say he's a wrong'un? No, I'm not the only one who thinks that. We started a bit late, didn't we? So we're it's 11 o'clock. Are you still all with me? Let me just check my figures. Yeah, you're more or less. You're all still there. Brilliant. Okay, moving on to local matters. The Labour Party in Oldham, particularly in the Muslim areas, are struggling, like in other parts of the country, are struggling to secure the Muslim vote in the way they once did. So they're coming up with a whole host of innovative ways in which to reach out to the Muslim community, to buy the votes, to demonstrate to them that they are for them. They are for them. And so we have in Chadderton an invitation, and this went out by WhatsApp, and one of my Bangladeshi team shared it with me and said maybe he'd like to go. I chuckled, but I thought I'd share it with you to show you what these people are up to. Now, this was sent out by Councillor Mohan Ali, who is the portfolio holder for education, Councillor Nazrul Islam, who I think is a deputy portfolio holder for something, business or something, and of course the deputy leader of Oldham Council, the assistant deputy leader of Oldham Council, but she promotes herself as the deputy leader of Oldham Council, Councillor Elaine Taylor, who's up for re-election in a couple of months in Chadderton Central. Venue Chadderton Town Hall, Middleton Road, Oldham. Time 1 p.m, Thursday the 15th of February 2024. I think some of you should go. How they've secured Chadderton Town Hall, I don't know, because it then should be available to others, but this is what they've done. The purpose of the meeting is to seek your views on 1. Introducing GCSE Arabic in some of our secondary schools. That's right, they want to seek your views on introducing GCSE Arabic. They also want to brief you on the development programme we as in the council are launching to get more black and minority ethnic women involved in education in senior leadership positions. And they also want to provide Oldham's position on educational performance and attainment. So forget the last one really. The first two things are targeted at the Muslim community. First of all, we want to seek your views apparently on introducing GCSE Arabic into some of our secondary schools and brief people on the development program they are launching to get more black and minority ethnic women involved in education into senior leadership positions. Why they've targeted black and minority ethnic women for senior leadership positions in Oldham secondary schools? It's not even in Oldham secondary schools, is it? In education, I don't know. In attendance will be senior leaders in education and directors of education. So the council are behind this as well as the councillors. We will be delighted if you attend this event. Your views are important to us. Please kindly confirm your attendance. Kind regards, Councillor Mohan Ali, Cabinet Member for Education and Skills, Councillor Elaine Taylor, Deputy Leader, and Councillor Nazrul Islam, Deputy Cabinet Member for Employment and Enterprise. This has gone out to my Bangladeshi brethren on purpose, and they want to seek the views on introducing GCSE Arabic. What am I meant to think of this? Well, first of all, I'll say this to you. Forget introducing GCSE Arabic. It is not for the council to introduce any subject into a school's curriculum. I think now with Saddleworth going, and I don't think they're on about Saddleworth here, are they? Because I don't think Saddleworth will want GCSE Arabic. All of the secondary schools are academies. The council has no say on what subjects an academy teaches, let alone introducing GCSE Arabic. This is divisive, this is manipulative, and this is an attempt to bribe, without thinking through the consequences, a specific segment of the community. And it is outrageous that the Deputy Leader of Oldham Council, Elaine Taylor, is involved in it, but it is even worse that in attendance there will be senior leaders in education and directors of education also. This is outrageous. Councillor Mohan Ali, Councillor Elaine Taylor, Councillor Nazrul Islam, whilst I can find and I share that these are divisive, deplorable actions, that council officers are in attendance at this is gross misconduct as far as I'm concerned. This is divisive, this is reprehensible, and it is completely unacceptable. And what they've also said is they want to brief people on the development of a programme the council is launching, has to be the council, to get more black and minority ethnic women involved in education in senior leadership positions, when the evidence is clear and conclusive that the ones who need the most help in our schools are white working class boys, and they suffer from an absence of role models. Where have they devised this from? Yet again, this council is involved in dividing our communities in this sectarian style of politics. And I'm sorry, why would you want to introduce GCSE Arabic into some of our secondary schools? It's not Quranic studies. My friends and family go to Quranic studies. I went to Quranic studies as a child. We went after school to the mosques, to the madrasas. We learnt our Quranic studies there. There was never an expectation of the school providing this. GCSE Arabic. Elaine Taylor, you should be ashamed of yourself. So I urge any of you to go to the Chadderton Town Hall on Thursday the 15th, it's this Thursday, at 1 PM, and see which council officers are there. Carl Bardsley. Carl Bardsley. Chadderton South Council candidate, aren't you? You should go, Carl. You should go and see who the council officers are. Yes, anyone can go, Dennis. It's a council event. It's at Chadderton Town Hall. What they are doing is further dividing the town to try and buy votes. There are people in my community who I'm sure would want a GCSE Arabic introduced into the curriculum. At the same time, I think there are people in my community, some of them would want more than GCSE Arabic in the curriculum. Leadership, genuine leadership, is not about doing what's popular. It's about doing what's right. This isn't right. Elaine Taylor. Shame on you, but it's okay, Elaine. I hear there's a special independent candidate standing in Chadderton Central who I'm sure I won't mind at all doing their leaflets for, where they will share your position on voting against a public inquiry into the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of little white girls, and your endorsement of GCSE Arabic and a development program for black and minority ethnic women in education. A report came out this week. The Met officers dissuaded children from making sexual abuse claims. So the Met, of course, is the London Police Force. Andy Burnham will not launch, or HMICS, Her Majesty's Inspectorate, or His Majesty's Inspectorate. Burnham should go to them and insist they launched a similar inquiry into Greater Manchester. He hasn't, he won't. No one will. But this report that emerged in London for the Met is horrific. I Love Oldham are doing this.
Identify as being queer, trans and part of an...
As part of Hate Crime Awareness Week. Your money, people.
My name is Elle. I use they them pronouns. I'm 18 and I identify as being queer, trans and part of an alternative subculture.
That's what your money is currently going on. Hate Crime Awareness Week in Oldham. Hate crime apparently is now not against the victims of the grooming gangs. It's not against me as a Muslim or you as a Christian or all of the reality of, for most of us, hate crime now is very much focused on somehow. No. I have no issue with calling this young. I mean, what's her pronouns? I don't know. Her, him. I wouldn't wish anyone any harm in the world. I just refuse to have it rammed down my 9-year-old child's throat, and I refuse to look the other way whilst adults, teachers, make appointments for children to have puberty blockers and stuff like that. That doesn't make me a person of hate. It means I'm just safeguarding and looking after my child. But these people, these lefties won't. Yeah, they won't have that, will they? We're all racist, homophobes, whatever. Oldham is on the brink of bankruptcy, as we all know. That's Arood Shah. That's Harry Caffrell. And that's Emma Barton. The one you've got to look out for, whose picture we've not got yet, but I'll do a profile, I'll do something on her in the near future, is a woman called Shelley Kipling. Shelley Kipling is in charge of communications, went off to Manchester and then came back. She's the one who's dangerous and the one to look out for. And I'll do an expose in the near future on Shelley Kipling. In terms of on the verge of bankruptcy, and this was a Lewis Quick Conservative screen grab, this is what took place. The opposition parties put out an alternative budget. It's a key feature of what all opposition parties are supposed to do. And of course, Arud Shah claimed that the opposition, in particular the Conservative budget, was ill thought out, ill-informed and ill-informed. Do you know what the headline feature of the opposition budget was that Lewis worked on? It was to freeze your council tax, to reduce the number of councillors from 60 to 40, so reduce it by a third, and freeze pay on the council staff who are on £100,000 and more. Now, freezing the salary of staff who are on £100,000 or more and reduces councillors by a third, which would deliver the necessary savings, help deliver the necessary savings, which would mean that the council tax would be frozen, Arud Shah claims is ill thought out and ill informed. I don't think it's either ill thought out and ill informed, but I understand it's another reason why they want to remove Lewis from his role as councillor in Royton North. And they're heavily targeting Royton North. So if any of you live in Royton or live in Royton North, I urge you to contact Lewis and I urge you to give him your support, because he'll need it. Because he's doing the best for this town, despite everything that's happening. Remember, he's under investigation. He's also under investigation. And Arud Shah has followed him and gone into places trying to obtain CCTV footage of who he was meeting with. That's right. Your gangster-affiliated leader of Oldham Council has had a senior councillor followed, opposition councillor followed, and has tried to obtain CCTV footage of who they are meeting with. News is breaking in Rochdale, 4 boys aged between 12 and 14 have been arrested on suspicion of rape. All I can say, and I know nothing of this case, apart from this headline on Sky News that I picked up, all I can say on this is, what do you expect when the adults in that town have been getting away with it and the crimes they've committed have been covered up? What did you expect was going to happen? And I go back to this. The Labour Party had a chance. At this by-election, they had a chance to demonstrate leadership to all of us across the country and say, enough of this. And deal with the issues in Rochdale, which is the cover-up of the grooming gangs. And instead, they played Pakistani politics, brought in a candidate from Burnley because of a deal that had been done in Burnley to get Oliver Ryan selected as a Labour Party candidate there. The people of Rochdale deserve better. And of course, we, the people of Oldham, also deserve better. And if anything I've learnt over the last 5 years, is that no matter what, this lot will not, the Labour Party will not ever put the people of this town first. They'll do whatever it takes to keep themselves in positions of power. I hope you found value in this transmission. I'm just looking, I'm 2 hours in, give or take. I hope you found value in this transmission. Please, Warren, please don't share the transmission. Over 700 people watched the transmission last week after Warren shared it. If I had half of those subscribing, I'd be okay. I haven't. So please don't share the transmission. It costs 75 pence. All of you pay me. Some of you pay me a lot more than 75 pence. Without the money you pay me, I wouldn't be able to keep going. I wouldn't be able to do this. I'm sure you find value in this because I'm looking to see that many of you are still watching, even though it's what? 11:15 on a Sunday night. A very, very good evening to all of you. I'm back next week. I'm going to be back next week, and then I'm going to have a break for a couple of weeks. So tune in with next week, and I look forward to catching up with you then. Take care. Good night.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.